Hello guys, welcome back to Life's Deceit with me, your girl, Jen Simpson. How are you guys doing? How is your morning, your afternoon, your night? How are you doing wherever you are in the world? Welcome, 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 welcome. To my subscribers already, thank you for continuing this journey with me. And to my new subscribers, my new listeners for the first time today, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave your girl a comment. I did a little something with my hair today. Guys, I've been battling this flu, this virus that I've been trying to shake. And I took some meds. I blended up my ginger, my garlic, my honey, turmeric, and I've been drinking it, trying to get myself back in the groove and feeling good because I can't let it take over my body. So guys, please continue to pray for me and continue to send me love and grace. And thank you to my new followers on TikTok. Guys, go follow my TikTok. Go find my TikTok. See it here. Check the name out. Go and follow me on TikTok and follow me on Instagram, guys. Let's get connected. And tune in to my blog. It is on my website, www.janellesimpson.com, and it is called The Mere Muse, where I write blogs every week. I have a very special guest today, and I'm so excited because I love my men, and so many times, too often, we forget about you guys, and I want to forgive us, guys. Please forgive us, women and people, for always forgiving that you guys deserve love and grace and all the support in the world, because you guys are valuable. You are needed. You are needed like no other, and you are essential, and we love you guys. And sometimes when we got things going on as women, we do tend to forget you, but that doesn't mean that we don't love you. We love each and every one of you. We support you. We are here for you. Too often, men are expected to be tough, silent, and emotionally detached. Just a natural thing that we hear. When men are too emotional, we start to say that they're too soft, blah, 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 blah. And we continue to pass those patterns on from generation to generation and generation after generation. We keep passing down those stigmas that were told to us. But what happens when a man chooses to unlearn those stigmas, to unlearn those things, to face his pain, and to rebuild his life from inside out, from all the way the inside to the outside? Today's guest is an amazing man. And I'm excited about this guest, guys, and you'll soon find out why. Today's guest is Bill Simpson. Yeah, I said Bill Simpson. Are we related? No, we're not. But I'm excited because I haven't had a guest with the same last name as me, because you guys know the last name is Simpson. I rep it. He has walked that path from 3 divorces and deep childhood wounds to a thriving marriage of 16 years. Why do we highlight 16 years? Because Bill has gone through marriages that he didn't know weren't for him. He has been divorced, remarried, divorced, remarried 3 times. He's now a relationship coach for men, and he's the host of Men on the Path to Love. This episode is not just about healing. It's not just about how men heal and how relationships can be successful. This episode is about deep-rooted wounds that cause men to be emotionally unavailable. It's about breaking generational cycles. It's about the topic that we've been talking about all season long. Breaking generational cycles is a lifestyle. Breaking down why we continue to pass on this toxic narrative that men have to be strong. Men have to wear this armor. Men just have to be this emotional beings that aren't allowed to express themselves. We are breaking down those walls, and we're showing men that it's okay to express your emotions. It's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be a loving man, be a loving husband, be a loving partner, being a loving father. And Bill Simpson's here talk about the things that he's experienced as a child that caused him to be in relationships that didn't serve him, and he didn't serve very well. He's talking about that emotional wound, that abandonment issues that caused him to be in toxic patterns for 3 relationships straight, but now thriving as a coach, as a host, and a loving husband and father. So, guys, please welcome with me, Bill Simpson. So, I'm excited today to be sitting with you. I mean, yes, because we share the last
Yeah, I
name.
thought,
You know, we have the,
I was trying to check my ancestry to see if you were a long lost cousin, but your name didn't come up. So,
maybe we'll find something one day down the lines. I think we might be related somehow,
yes, yeah, a brother and sister from the same mister or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
right? But welcome, 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 Bill Simpson. It's an honor and a pleasure to be in your presence
No, thank
today.
you so much.
And thank you for taking the time out of your day, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, to be on this platform and bless our listeners. I'm not only excited because we share the same last name, but you are a relationship coach um, for men,
Yes.
and that is very rare. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we need all the help we can get out here. So,
It's it's a blessing to see that there is a men coach specializing for men, because I was saying to myself earlier today, a lot of times we forget about men,
yeah.
because we know men to be the head of the table, the head of the family, to carry the weight, strong, just emotionally detached.
Hmm.
And we forget that you guys go through so much and wear this strong face every single day.
Yeah, and it's that old conditioning that gets us into trouble when it comes to a relationship. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm here
And,
to
and
try to expand some minds. It's not about giving up any of their masculine qualities. It's about enhancing them with some other qualities, that make them a
right.
better man.
And I'm glad that you're here today to break some of these stigmas with
Yes.
us, because the world is turning, everything's changing. We are more aware. We have social
Hmm.
media and we are more exposed to things that we weren't able to see back
True.
then, because now we have the platform for it,
Yeah.
right? And I think men like you allow other men to know that it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel, it's okay to express your emotions.
Absolutely. It's more than okay. It's really necessary if you want to sustain a deep, long lasting connection.
That's
Yeah.
right. And I want to start by saying thank you for walking in your purpose and calling. Because if you had not done it, we wouldn't have a phenomenal man like you doing it for other men.
Mm,
So it's truly a blessing to know that you accepted it, because we all have a calling, I believe, and we all have a purpose. But the big part of it is accepting it.
true.
Not everybody accepts the calling and the purpose. We may take the career, we may take the job, and we're just living day to day, but don't realize that it's a bigger picture behind all of that, all of what we do on a day to day basis, and how many people's lives we
Yeah,
touch, right?
absolutely. Yeah. And I don't see it as an accident that that this has been my calling. This is my third. What do they call it? This is my. I'm calling it my encore career because I've had two other careers prior to this, and it was my life's journey that led me to be a relationship coach for men.
Yes, I noticed that. And we are going to dive right into that. But first, for my listeners who are not familiar with who you are and want to know a little bit more, can you tell us where you're from?
Hmm.
What do you represent? And what do you hope that your purpose will be when you leave this earth?
Well, I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the States, in the US. I'm representing, one of my guests called it the alphabet male. And what he meant by that was, we have the alpha male who's like, "Grr," the in charge guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's real is that we have many different letters other than the alpha, beta, and so on. We have
Hmm.
the whole alphabet. And when I interviewed him, he used that term, and that kind of fit me like a glove. That being a man is just being who you are and being authentic, and no matter what that means to you, versus having to live up to some sort of conditioning or stereotype or whatever that we perceive men to be. So I'm an alphabet male. That's how I look at it. That's how I represent. And my purpose, or the what I want to leave before I leave this earth, is the legacy uh, to my son and my grandson and to all the men out here, that there is a better way to connect in relationship and be in relationship, and in turn, that brings us all together and brings more love and connection in the world. And that's my love mission, is to help us connect and love deeply. So there you go.
That's beautiful. Your love
Love
mission.
mission.
I haven't heard anybody say that they're on a love mission. So I love that because love is very absent right now.
Hmm.
And maybe people may say, no, it's not. Love is still there. No, it's very absent. Even if it's not just giving grace to each other, but extending love where we don't understand
Yeah.
is very absent. So I appreciate you saying that love mission. You were raised in Philly.
Well,
I recently
oh
visited
yeah.
Philly.
Wow. How
Yeah,
about that? Yeah.
it was nice. It's for a basketball
Oh,
tournament.
nice. Well, actually, I was raised in Virginia, and I came here to Philadelphia in 1987 as a radio personality. So I've been here most of my life at this point. Yeah.
What was it like living in Virginia?
It's a little bit of a slower pace, you know. People are very polite there. They say, hi, how you doing? Walking down the street, they make eye contact with you. Not so much here in Philly. they,
Yeah.
if you do that
Yeah.
in Philly, they look at you like, "Hey, what's wrong with this guy?" So yeah, so it was nice. It was a great place to grow up, I'd say, and I couldn't wait to get out of there as well. So,
Oh, really?
well,
Can you share with us a little?
the small town that I lived in, it was just a small town, and I wanted something bigger in my life, and it was just too sleepy, too boring, and I wanted some fun. I wanted some big city action. So,
Okay, big city action. I like that. And growing up, you couldn't have known that you were going to be a coach for men
mm-mm.
on this love mission, pouring love back into men. Growing up, what was your dynamic of your family?
I was the youngest of five siblings, the oldest
Mhm.
15 years older than me. And around the age of 6 years old, my parents decided to get a divorce. And I'd say I had a relatively happy childhood at that point. I did witness my parents arguing at times, and it could get pretty volatile. Nothing really violent, but just yelling and screaming. Um, and yet, I was pretty happy. And then, big change came when my mom uh, went to live with my mother and my youngest brother, and we lived there for a couple of years with my mom, and that was pretty scary. My mom, she was. I know she had some mental health issues, but back then, people didn't really do a whole lot about it. She could be the most nurturing mother on the planet. I mean, I just loved when she loved on me. But she could go the other way too, to where I was scared of her. I mean, there were times when she literally broke glass and put it on a plate and says, "That's your dinner." And so you can imagine 6, 7, 8 years old, living under not knowing what I was going to get. Am I going to get the nurturing
Mhm.
mom, or am I going to get glass on the table? And so it kept me quite anxious, being with her. And eventually, she ended up giving custody of my brother and me to my father at 8 years old. And I felt safer with my father, even though he was not really emotionally available, but he was present, and I felt safe there. There wasn't a whole lot of yelling and screaming, and I had a really grounded stepmother, so it felt pretty safe there. And from that point on, I felt, living a pretty decent childhood. However, during this period, my mother never contacted me, and at the age of 13, 5 years later, she died of a heart attack. So my mom disappeared. I mean, she gave custody to my dad, and then she was gone forever. So at the time, I didn't really understand the impact that it would have later on in life. And I discovered that uh, I was started when I started dating. I had a pattern of overlapping my relationships. I'd have a girlfriend, I'd meet another girlfriend, drop that old girlfriend and go to the new one, and always had to be in a relationship. And that happened all the way through my first marriage. I've been married, this is my fourth marriage now. But my first marriage, I was on the radio here in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And there was a lot of that sisterly affection, which was hard for me to avoid. And a couple of times I did succumb to that, and I wasn't proud of it. Yet it's what's real. And a part of that was in that time period, I met this woman who I ended up divorced my first wife. I ended up marrying this woman that I was seeing while I was with my first wife. So there I go, overlapping again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until that relationship that I was struggling with some high pressure stuff at work with the morning show I was doing. Even though it was a lot of fun, there was a lot of pressure, and then just kind of feeling out of sorts. And a friend of mine referred me to a therapist, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And what I discovered was the reason for this overlapping was I had an abandonment issue. I had a fear of abandonment. So what I would do, I would end these relationships before they would abandon me. And so that's why, I never really, no one really broke up with me. I was the one to do it because I wasn't going to let you do it, because I wasn't going to get abandoned. And so that was a big awareness for me. And it was understood how what happened in my childhood impacted my relationships. And then with my second wife, I also understood that I had this knight in shining armor complex. Here I was, this popular morning show radio personality making a lot of money, and I married this woman with 5 kids. I'm sorry, 4 kids, and we had one between the two of us, and I thought I could save her, right? And part of
Yeah.
that is the need to feel the need to control, and I didn't understand that either. But because I had all the money, because I was making all the decisions, I was controlling, and I thought I was just doing it for the good of everyone. And what was real was
Mm-hmm.
that my wife at the time felt controlled. So that was all a part of that fear of abandonment too, is being in control so I don't get left behind. And so that's the impact that my mother wound certainly had on me. And so it played out in relationship. I ended that relationship, and when I did, I remember being alone. I had a 27-room house, and I was in the middle of an empty living room on a carpet with my dog when my daughter and stepkids and my wife left for the night. There she is. Um, I Hello, sweetheart. Um, I was just curled up in a ball, crying and sobbing, because it was the first time in my life that I'd been alone. I wasn't going into another relationship. And that's what I was terrified of, being alone. And yet that was the best thing that happened to me, because I learned to love me. I learned to get to know me and what I needed and how to nurture that that inner child of mine, that little boy inside of me that lost his mom and was abandoned. So learning to love myself, and doing all kinds of things to improve myself. I was uh, learning Tai Chi and meditation and things like that. And I met this woman at my house, who my Tai Chi master, Master Ru, was teaching at my home, and she found out about it, and she came to class, and I met her. I said, "Oh wow, maybe I found someone that really is into what I'm into finally." And
Yeah.
well, it started out okay, but it turned out she was married. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, what's going on here? And just, to keep a long story shorter, um, we had quite a roller coaster ride of a relationship. And we ended up getting married. We had a son together. And a few years later, we decided to get divorced. And here was going from this 27-room house to one bedroom in someone's home that I was renting out. and I had two kids, and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I've learned all this stuff about relationship. I've been to relationship counseling. I had a mentor who was a relationship counselor. I've did all this mind body stuff, and I still couldn't get this relationship to work. So I was ready to like give it up and live a monk's life, man. I was like, this is enough. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do this. And one evening I was sitting in meditation, and this voice comes to me, kind of like Rafiki in The Lion King, like, it is time. I'm like, it is time for what? And it was this push for me to get on this dating site and put my profile on. And I'm like, you got to be kidding.
Hmm.
I don't look good at all on paper right now. Three to Been divorced 3 times, got two kids, um, living in one room in some guy's house. And on top of that, I got laid off my job. And I still got this push to put my
Mm.
profile out. So I'm like, all right. And this is like 8 months or so after the divorce, maybe longer, somewhere around there. It wasn't quite a year. And I went on this site called Conscious Match. And I put my profile up. And 3 days later, I was getting some pokes from people from Russia and all over the world, but
Of
nowhere
the
near
world.
where I was. And finally, I get this poke from this woman who was like half hour away, and I was like, hmm. So we corresponded back and forth, and I told her everything what was going on with me. And the first thing she
Mhm.
said to me was, "Well, at least you believe in marriage." So that was a good start, right? Uh,
Yeah.
yet she said there was something in my eyes that attracted her, and she just saw through me. And we had a great conversation, or we weren't even talking yet. We were doing this via email, and after several correspondence, we were putting out our values, our goals, all this stuff. Because like, why beat around the bush? Just get to the point. Like, if you're not compatible, or you don't have the same values, you don't have any goals in mind, then what's the point? So we put it all out
Right.
there, and so far so good. So we ended up having a phone conversation, and that lasted for a long time. And we decided to finally meet each other. And the moment our eyes connected, I just this thought of,
There was a
it
spark.
was, I'm home. That was what felt like home to me. Like, I have found my home. And that was over 16 years ago. And our marriage is thriving. It's better than it's ever been. It's just amazing. And I get to use all the skills that I learned, in these previous marriages, and all the stuff that I do with my training and coaching and all of my experience, and it works. And it's like our marriage is just amazing. So um, that's that's what led
I'm
me there.
I'm happy that you allowed yourself to love again,
Mm.
and you allowed yourself to connect and align with your person. As you're telling me your story and what you're going through, I'm thinking of this show that I recently watched called Ginny and Georgia.
My wife's watching that right now.
And are you watching
No,
it?
my wife,
I just finished season
I
3.
walked in on her. She was watching that show just a few minutes ago. So that's so ironic. I haven't seen it yet. So.
It's a great show, and I've been hooked on it. And it's funny how, like, people are like, "Oh, the mom, she's so evil." But if you actually watch the show and you watch the dynamic of how it plays out and how trauma will show up in your life as you're an adult, as you're parenting, as you're in relationships, the things that you do, you jump into survival mode,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep.
right? And I'm listening to you talk, and we see on social media so much relationships that are failing. They're divorced here and there, and people are saying, "Yeah, you should have left that person a long time ago." And people are, throwing their opinions and comments at it. But I'm listening to you talk and how you took the time to really dig deep and figure out why you were jumping from woman to woman, because it's not just men that do it, women do
Oh
it too
yeah.
because of abandonment
Sure.
issues. And I think that social media has painted this picture of what a relationship should look like, what a friendship should
Yeah.
look like. And if it doesn't look like this, something's wrong. Red flags, run, run, run. But there are reasons for people's
Yeah.
behavior. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It's who you are and the things that you went through and experienced that shaped you.
Exactly. And all of it.
So I talk about all of those things, right? Talk about, you know, we forget that as adults, we shape our children.
Yes.
So the things that we do and we show them, it will shape who they become and how they are in their relationships, marriages, how they raise their children.
Yeah, I did it.
But you,
I do a podcast called Men on the Path to Love. And back near Mother's Day here in the States, I did a show on the mother wound and how, the mother
Mhm.
wounds can impact a relationship, just like what happened with my mother. And then this past week, this week, I've actually launched or dropped an episode about the father factor, and talk about the father wounds. And it's kind of funny is
Mhm.
that mother wounds and the father wounds are pretty much the same wounds. It's the are they present, are they emotionally available, are they critical, overcritical, are they loving but distant, and all these different factors that come into play. And most of the time, most of our behavior is subconscious. We're not aware of our behavior. It's from our patterns, it's from how we've been, our behaviors have been modeled for us and things like that. And as you said, like social media as well influences it. But these are all subconscious patterns. And when you take the time to say, I'm wondering why this same person keeps showing up, or same type of person keeps showing up.
Mhm.
Well, why don't you look at yourself and see what pattern that you may be seeing that could have impacted your relationship, the relationship with your mother or your father or both. And and it's
Right?
so easy to blame our parents because I know when I first got it,
So
when I
easy.
when I got into got into therapy, it was like blame your parents, and I was all mad at them, and then I had to forgive them, and now I'm so glad that I went through what I went through because it brought me to where I am today.
Right. And that's what when I brought up the show Ginny in Georgia,
Yeah.
it was, her mom always doing things and the kids feeling responsible to always protect their mom. And she's not aware. Why do these things keep showing up in your life? Why do you keep doing these things? Because of your childhood.
Yes.
You ran away from it for so long that it became normal to
Right.
you. The things that you do and how you hurt your kids, not even realizing that, hey, you ran away from your mom for so long and your father that you became a mere image of them
Exactly. Yeah. And you go,
is absolutely
you're like,
crazy.
how did I get here? It's like,
Right? When I ran away for so long, how did I end up to the same spot I tried to run from?
mm-hmm,
But I want you to elaborate a little bit more and explain what abandonment issue is
mm-hmm.
and how can people identify that if they're in a relationship with somebody who's struggling with abandonment issues. How do we identify that?
Well, oftentimes it shows up as being overly dependent, maybe clingy, maybe jealous or envious, more so jealous of someone that might be taking you away. Those are types of behaviors that you can notice, whether it's within yourself, that you're finding yourself jealous over your spouse or partner, or you're noticing your spouse or partner being jealous. Maybe they have an abandonment issue, and being overly dependent. Having to be with them all the time, or calling constantly throughout the day, or needing to text, "Where were you?" That kind of stuff. Those are signs that it could be other things too, but those are certainly signs of possible abandonment issue.
And how do you work? Like, okay, we know the first thing our friends that, aren't necessarily unbiased, but our friends and our loved ones, and we go on social media, we see the signs, and we're like, oh my gosh, those are the signs of my relationship. The first thing you will hear is leave, run, don't stay. But I want to ask for somebody who doesn't want to tap out of their relationship, they don't want to leave because they love this person and they're in for wanting to support them through maybe therapy or getting the help that they need, whatever it is. What advice would you give to them?
I would talk about it and ask to get some help. That I want to be in this relationship. I want to make this relationship work. I want us to work together. So we could go to a coach or therapist, or maybe it's within your, religious community or whatever. But seek some objective help versus going to your friends, because like you said, they're kind of invested in you, and they're going to tell you all these things, but they're not living with, your partner, right? So they don't really know the full story. And if, yeah,
Right.
if all these things are happening and you talk about it, and he says, "No, nah, I'm not going to do that," we're all right, we don't need any help, or just denies it and all that, then you don't have a whole lot to work with. But just to leave, throw
Mhm.
the baby out with the bathwater just because you see a red flag, doesn't necessarily mean the relationship has to end. It just means, all right, there's a red flag, let's look at this, let's talk about it. And even if your partner cheats on you, doesn't have to be the end of the relationship. It could be an opportunity to figure out, why did that happen? And if the partner who cheated feels remorseful and is willing to make the relationship work, and the one who's cheated on gets to ask questions, gets to get clarity on what happened, and be, totally transparent with everything, then that can be the basis. And I've seen it happen for the relationship to grow. But we're so quick, to just, nope, kick them to the curb and that's it, without giving it a shot. But if you're not getting anything back, then maybe it is time to move on.
I'm actually glad that you said
Mm,
that. And I'm glad because we think that every red flag is a bad thing and that we should just
right.
run, give up on the person. And I'm not condoning
Of
abuse.
course.
I'm not condoning any form of abuse, physical, emotional, mental. I'm not condoning it at all. And everybody has their boundaries, and everybody has their things that they will tolerate and things that they will not
Right.
tolerate. And I'm not by any means saying that anybody should tolerate cheating in their relationship. However, I do agree with you, Bill, when you say, you know, somebody may cheat on you, your partner may cheat on you, doesn't mean that you run.
Right. If you
There are questions to be
if
asked
you want it to work, yeah.
if you want it to work. And to be quite honest, I do find that, okay, your partner cheats on you, and then you leave and you don't get the closure or the understanding of why. And we're not going to say, like, a lot of times you see people say, well, if you had to cheat, that means you didn't really want me, and these fancy quotes that are all out there on social media that we also love to double tap
Right.
and
Right.
love. But it doesn't mean that you're not worthy, it doesn't mean you're not good enough. That person could really have a problem. They love you, but they have an issue, and they're searching for different things within other men and women, and they're too afraid to tell you. And there are people who have an issue, and you can work it out with them.
Yeah. Well,
So I do agree with that sentiment that you said, because we're all too quick to run and give up on each other and not realize that we all come with stuff. We all come with burdens, traumas that we're trying to work through. And we've lived in a society for so long that's told us just to get
yeah.
over things. Don't talk about it.
Yeah, sweep it under the rug.
Cover
Yeah,
it
and
up.
it what good does
Mm,
that do? How does that work for you? It doesn't.
it
And
doesn't.
I think back about, my first marriage. We got along fine. We had a great relationship as far as I was concerned. But I was young, I was immature, and I just didn't have the maturity and capacity to know what it meant to be in a long-term relationship. And then
Mm,
take that in itself, and then you add an abandonment issue on top of it. So it just,
right.
and it was, part of that was getting that attention that was so easy, that, oh my gosh, a woman's giving me attention, and she's just here and she's beautiful, like what? It was hard
Right.
to resist at that age. And so some of this is just, the maturing process. But a lot of it is recognizing our patterns. And and it, like you said, a red flag can be a red flag, but you don't let them accumulate and without saying anything. If you communicate and openly communicate and talk about how things make you feel, and what you need, then they have an opportunity to give that to you. But if you just observe and watch and don't notice, and just notice these things, but don't say anything about it or don't try to do something with it, then you're going to be looking. You're like constantly looking. You find that first red flag. Okay, I'm going to look for another one. I'm going to look for another one, and you're not really looking for the good qualities or the
Mhm.
possibilities that could happen out of that relationship.
Right. And it's like you said, if you talk to them and they're not willing to give or take anything, then, you know when it's time to
Yeah, or
go.
you have a choice. You can
I
stay, but it's just going to be more of the same. And then you can't complain if you decide to
Mhm.
stay because you've talked about it. He told you straight up, nope, I'm not doing it. Then you take or leave him. And if you stay, then that's your choice.
I
Yeah.
agree. If you could remember from when you were young, what was your understanding of love and
Wow.
relationship?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, I saw it modeled with like my friend's parent. I would go over, especially one particular family, and they had 5 kids, same kind of dynamic. And they just, I don't know, they just loved each other. I saw them show each other affection a lot. They laughed a lot together. And it was just a beautiful thing. And they were together when the family was together. Like they would hold hands and show each other affection. And that's what I always wanted to have in a relationship, rather than witnessing my parents arguing and seeing the drama and the all that going on. No, I wanted us to get along. I want to have that. I was like I guess a romantic at heart in seeing those kind of things. So
Hmm.
and I remember I must have been about 11 or 12 years old, and I was at this with that particular family, and it was like a big family vacation, and one of their cousins was there or uncles, older guy, and he goes, "Hey, lover boy," and he called me a lover boy, and he says, "You're a lover, not a fighter," all that stuff, and I was like, okay, and then now I'm on a love mission, so it must run pretty deep from back in the day.
Nice. It's so funny because I grew up in an abusive
Uh,
household too, seeing
mm,
it very often and it happening to me. And people who question me and ask me, but how did you turn out like this? And I'm like, well, I watched a lot of TV shows with happy
there you go.
families and great relationships, and I knew that that's what I wanted to become, and I just made sure I
Yeah.
became that. And as much as I fought through it, there were signs of my mom popping up in me. Great
Hmm.
woman, but certain qualities that she had, I despised them. And I would see little bits of me in like pieces of her and me, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, okay, I gotta fight it. I can't become like that. I gotta try to root it out. So I, I agree with what you're saying when you say you see in a family, because that gives us hope that we
Yeah.
can
Yeah, it showed.
as
Yeah, it
well,
showed
right?
me that it existed, and it seemed very authentic. It didn't seem showy at all. They just loved each other, and I'm like, that's what
Mm.
I want. And now my wife and I mean, we're best friends. We're still attracted to each other as we get older and our wrinkles and everything else, and it just keeps getting better. We laugh, we have a good time. We're there to support each other, and it's a beautiful thing.
And you know what, Bill? I do truly believe there's everybody for somebody. And I do believe that every person we go through in life is for a purpose and a season.
Hmm.
And as much as we want to be angry when relationships end, we have to really pivot
Yeah.
and think about, how did that relationship benefit me? What did it bring into my life that I realized about myself that I needed to change so that I could be with the person I'm supposed to be and be there for my
Hmm.
ex, the mother of my children, the father of my children. We got to really change our mindset from being angry to, okay, we created something beautiful. We did have good times together,
Yeah.
but some things do end for greater things to happen.
Absolutely. And I don't regret a minute of those 3 divorces. I mean, I had to go through that. And what was ironic is that my current wife had lived a very parallel life, very similar steps along the way. She had to learn her lessons too. And so, we said, we joke about when we were born, we're 10 days apart. And she was like, okay, we'll meet, 50 years later, and we'll go through all this stuff, just so we can be with each other and do it the right way. So, yeah, it was definitely a purpose for all those. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So I'm grateful for it all. Hmm.
Amazing. How did your relationship, emotionally distant relationship with your father, influence your behavior and beliefs in your adulthood?
Well, I always, like you were saying, certain parts of your mom that you despised, for me was I didn't want to grow up to be like my father in certain ways. Not so much that I despised it; it just wasn't who I am and who I wanted to be. And so I was shut down emotionally because I was modeled that by him. And as a matter of fact, when what I didn't mention, after my mother died 6 months later, my brother was killed in an automobile accident. And so within a year's time, I lost my oldest brother and my mother. He lost his oldest son and the mother of his kids. And I had to parentify him. I had to console him through his pain. And he wasn't there for me. Here I was, a 13-year-old boy, lost his mom and brother, hadn't seen his mom in 5 years. And you can imagine what's going on in my brain. And he wasn't there for me. And fast forward to now, or to my adult relationships, that's where that knight in shining armor kind of thing came in, where I'm here to save you. I'm here to nurture you and be there for you. And yet who was going to be there for
Mhm.
me? And so there's that part, the abandonment part of no one's going to be there for me. So I've got to stay in this relationship or find another one. And what came to fruition was that alone time with me, again, learning to love me and to nurture me and nurture that 13-year-old
Right.
boy that went through that great amount of loss. And I had a therapist who referred me to get a doll, a little boy doll that represented me as a little boy. And I'm like, what? And she goes, yep. And you know how hard it is to find a little boy doll? I mean, it was like impossible. It took me 2 years. I found him. And without going into all the details, I had to make some adjustments on this doll with a marker. And when I looked in his eyes, I started to cry. And I'm like, I found this little boy who lost his mom and whose dad wasn't there for him. So I got to hold him and be the dad, be the mom that he didn't have growing up. And that was really the start of my understanding of self-compassion. And it's a great metaphor for that, because that's what's happening. It's the inner child that was hurt in some kind of way, that that in your adult life it plays out in the relationship. So having that ability to heal me and have that emotional connection within myself really opened me up to be vulnerable and be emotionally available in relationship after
Did you ever get a beautiful answer?
that.
Did you ever get the opportunity to sit with your dad and talk about the things that you went through as a child and your healing journey?
Not really.